a tiny bit late going live today. I did anticipate going at 10:30. I'm about 10 minutes late. But yeah, I didn't anticipate how long, or underestimated how long it was going to take me to recreate designs that weren't actually my own. So yeah, it's taken me probably an hour to get the card kits and everything ready to create the little designs that I'm going to do for you today. Just bear with me for a second. I'm going to make sure that everything's up and running okay. Bear with me for a sec. I usually have my iPad, but I've got my phone today and it's a little bit trickier to negotiate. I think my iPad's actually out of juice. Here we go. This is my video. Is that my volume? Yep, my volume's okay. A few of you on already. Thank you for that. I'm just going to pop that there so I can watch the comments at the same time. Okay, got a couple popped on already. Thank you so much for that. Okay, the busy day yesterday. I didn't get into the craft room much at all, so I thought, well, I'm going to cheat a little bit today and do some casing the catalogue. I've never actually done a video, created a video where I've cased the catalogue before. For those who don't know, there's various versions of what casing means, but I like to think of it as copy and share everything, which is what we as demonstrators do. We tend to copy, or if we're running out of inspiration, we take somebody's designs and make them our own, tweak them a little bit, give them our special sort of slant, our special feel. Today I'm blatantly just going to copy from the catalogue, and I had a little voting session yesterday with a few of you jumping on and saying what suites you'd like me to copy from the catalogue. I am actually ignoring one particular person who tried to let's say, rig the voting towards one suite that she was particularly wanting to do. And since I'd vowed I was never going to touch that suite again this year, or wasn't going to touch that suite again this year, I vetoed her votes for the whimsical frames dies, which I think I've probably done to death this year in the lead up to Christmas. But anyway, so we are going to do, what did I say? We're going to do 3 cards, and I've picked the 3 from the suites that were voted for. So in no particular order, just the order that they come up in the catalogue. I'm going to do the Whimsy and Wonder collection. I'm going to do this card here. Probably one of my biggest regrets of picking this one, because once I got into preparing it, I thought, my goodness, it's quite complicated and fiddly, but I probably should have gone for the easier one with the stamping. But anyway, so I'm doing this little one here from the Sweet Stockings suite, which I haven't really touched all that much, I must say. I've been a bit slack with this one. I bought it, but it didn't really appeal to me. The paper is lovely though, so I'm doing this middle card here with the 3 little die cut stockings. They're just taken straight from the designer series paper. And one of my favourites for the year, which has also been neglected somewhat, I'm using the Blackberry Beauty suite, and I'm going to do this one here on the left hand side, which is over here, this one here. Also, yeah, probably once I started putting it together, I realised it was a bit fiddlier than I thought. But anyway, that's fine. They're all really, really lovely, and well worth the effort, and everything's moving around underneath me. Okay, so I might start with the last one we just mentioned, because it's on top of my pile of preparations, and that's the Blackberry Beauty suite, or and that is the combination of the Beauty of Tomorrow and stamp set and the Beautiful Leaves dies. The real winner of this particular suite, in my view, was the designer series paper, which will be finishing up on the 2nd of January. So if you love it, probably best to grab it before it goes. This is just an example of it. You can see it's just so, I want to say, unctuous, but that's sort of more like food. But yeah, it's just so gorgeous. It's just all that gold embossing is just really to die for. And it also was made particularly easy by the addition of the ephemera set, which I've used a fair bit in a couple of classes as well. So if you've probably got spares of that, if you do my classes, you've got spares of that lying around. And the card also features the gold shimmer vellum, which is lovely as well. So that's also on this card in little strips, which I'd never seen it used before, which was quite good. So I have enjoyed popping these cards together. Yeah, but as I say, it took me a bit longer. So I'm going to copy the picture as I go. I'm going to keep my catalogue open. So as I say, I'm doing this one here on the left. So if you've got your version of the catalogue open, just open it up to page 44, and that's where we're going to start. Okay, so I have prepared these already. So had a bit of a chat with Jan Casey this morning. I'm assuming Jan's on or close to being on, about what card base we thought was being used in the card itself. So we've decided that we both think it was crumb cake, or Jan said, and I agreed, though it doesn't quite look like crumb cake in the picture. But anyway, I've gone with crumb cake as the card base. So I have a normal size card base, and that's 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, and I've scored it in the middle. Then I've got another piece of crumb cake, and this is just my own preferences how to do this particular technique. I find it easier to have a smaller piece of cardstock to use as the base for laying down the strips of the vellum, and that's 1/8 of an inch smaller, so that's 4 inches exactly wide and 5 5/8 long. So I'm going to work with that one. Then I've got various strips of the gold shimmer vellum, and as I say, everything here is still available until the 2nd of January. If you haven't got around to ordering what you wanted out of the catalogue yet, go for it. Still got plenty of time. There is, and I'll give you a little sneak peek as my avid watchers, she says with a giggle, that we do have our clearance sale starting on the 30th of November, where a lot of the designs from the mini catalogue will go on sale. Not everything goes on sale, just selected items. So, I wouldn't hang around if there's something you really, really wanted. And it's all while stocks last as well, of course. So, yes, there is a list coming out shortly of the things that are on sale. So you could take a punt and wait. Some of them are up to 50% off, which is a pretty big deduction off the price. So I think you'll actually find, if you're particularly in love with these two, I'll just give you a little sneak peek. If you're in love with these two, they might be worth waiting for the 30th of November. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up there. Now I've got my strips of, I'm going to try and find yep, that's got some in it, my snail that's actually working. I've got 1/2 inch strips of the gold vellum, and I'm laying them across the crumb cake card base, and I've got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 of the little strips, so 10 1/2 inch strips. So what I'm going to do is just move them all off. Just going to take a strip of snail and pop it along the bottom, and then I'm going to line these up. So I'm going to line them up top and bottom as well as I can, and then obviously I will trim them down once I'm done. So trying to keep my snail as straight and ungluggy as possible. Just going to lay these down. So I'm going to just give it a slight, it's just a by sight sort of distance between them. Probably it'd be about 1/16 of an inch, I suppose. Maybe about 1 mil if you're in metric, which I should be, but I'm not. There we go. So you probably could cut your strips down to be a little bit closer to the size. I've just sort of left them all about 6 inches long, just to make it easy to manoeuvre them. And I'm just laying these down. You're going to notice in a moment that they look a little bit different to the picture. I have a feeling the picture's been taken under certain light conditions that makes it look a little bit lighter. But I still think it's very nice. Trying to keep these as straight as I can. I don't know how well I'm succeeding. I probably should line them up with my grid paper, and then I'd know for sure. Yeah, I might do that from now on, because I have got a little bit distorted on one side there. So I hope everyone's really well. It's finally stopped raining, she says, knowing that that will probably jinx the situation probably a bit more than she should. I washed my car the other day, which was a surefire way that it was going to start raining again, which it sort of did, but that's all right. Car hadn't been washed for quite some time and needed it. I'd hinted to the various people in my family that I wanted somebody to wash my car for me for long enough, and nobody did, so I had to do it myself. I hate it when hints go unpicked up. I might need another strip or two here. I think I've probably underdone it somewhat. Might need another one. That's okay. So just building up this beautiful shimmery gold background here. And look, to be honest, with the use of the ephemera pack and the dies, oh well, this one's got it on the back. Yeah, I'm going to need one more just for the very edge. Just for the very edge. Or will I get away with it? Let's have a think. Will I get away with it? If I trim that down, yeah, I'm not going to bother making another one. I'm just going to trim it down as it is, and then I'm going to cut my card base down slightly to fit around this, and it's because it's only a tiny bit. So I'm just going to cut these down. Just like that. Lots of sticky little ends, unfortunately. I'll drop them on the floor and pick them up with the vacuum later. My vacuum cleaner gets the weirdest things in it, as you guys probably do as well. No such thing as just hair and dust and dog fur in my house. It's all dimension backings. Oh my goodness, how many dimensional backings do I pick up in my vacuum cleaner? Oh my goodness, so many. And they sort of get everywhere. They get like in your hair and on your clothes, and I find them in the compost bin, and that's just madness where these dimensional backings get to. Okay, so there we have our backing there. It does have, I've got my blinds a little bit low at the moment, but it does have a very pretty sort of shimmer to it, which is lovely with that gold on the crumb cake. Okay, so now, as I say, I was going to cut this card base down so that it doesn't seem too big. Just grab some glue. I might pop it on first, and then I'll trim the card base down once I've seen where I land. The glue's a little bit clogged. Okay, so I'm just going to leave a very small edge, sort of left, right, and top, and then I will trim it at the bottom. Okay, so it's just a tiny bit that needs to come off the bottom there. What do you reckon about there? Don't want to take it too far. No, that's perfect. So I've taken that down to a, what? I think that's a 5.5 inch card base now, rather than 5 3/4, but there you go. Cool. Okay, so that's our card base done. That was not quite as painful as I thought it was going to be, but it's done. Okay, so let's look at our card that we're copying, casing again. Obviously, we've got the beautiful, next we've got that beautiful die from the die set. We've got the big batch of leaves in the background, and that's been die cut from that piece of designer series paper that I showed you before with all the gold. It's just glorious. And that, look, by the looks of things, is just sitting straight on to my card base like that. And it looks like I'm just about the right size. I didn't want it to hang over too far, top and bottom, so that looks like it's just going to fit just about perfectly. So we'll just pop that on. I might just pop that on with some dobs of glue. Maybe glue dots would be good, because then they're not going to move around on the shimmery surface of the vellum. we'll just do it with glue because that's what I've got handy. Okay. And we'll just pop that there, just like that. Okay. Some glue on there. I might flip that over in a sec. It looks a little bit funny without anything on top of it, but I'm sure it's going to come together beautifully once we add the rest. Okay, so from that ephemera pack that I mentioned before, we have these beautiful frames here, and it looks like one of those have been used in the card, plus a little piece of white cardstock just behind there for our sentiment. So what I'm going to do is stamp the sentiment first, and then make sure it fits into my little gap. So the one that they've used is, I know this is a difficult day. So that's quite a nice sentiment for somebody who's going through something tough. Sort of a slight different slant on the sort of like a sympathy card or something like that. Going to use cinnamon cider for the sentiment. I have a feeling they have probably embossed theirs with gold, but I'm going to use cinnamon cider just because, yeah, just because I can, and it's going to be less of a muck around than getting the heat embossing out. And I think I double dipped that. No, that's fine. Okay, so there is our, I know this is a difficult day. Okay, just get rid of that. So from the picture, I don't know if you can pick that up, but you can definitely pick it up when I look at it on my phone. It appears to me that the sentiment itself is hard on the back, but the frame is actually on dimensionals. See, that's lifted that already. To my way, that's taken it from to something pretty special. So I really, really like that. So it looks like, yes, I would say that the frame is up on dimensionals, and the sentiment the white sentiment is hard on the frame, on the card itself. But it does have a little piece of this ribbon, and this ribbon is also something pretty special that comes with the suite. So the ribbon looks like it's just folded over like that and popped underneath. So I need to make sure I keep enough length. So it's got a little loop at the top and just two little tails popping out at the bottom. So I think that's probably enough. And I'll just trim that so it's the same angle going upwards. There we go. So that ribbon is just a real highlight this year. Hopefully we'll have something similar next catalogue, because that's just really glittery. So that's going to sit just straight on the back of that little piece of cardstock with the sentiment on it, just on the back there. So I might pop some snail on that, because it makes it easier to stick the ribbon in rather than using glue. So again, I'll just pop that. So I've got little banner ends there. And pop it on the back. Try and keep it in the middle. Just like that. Okay, so we've got just a little bit of ribbon on there backing that. Now, I might, because that ribbon there is obviously not got sticky stuff on the back of it, so I want it to stick to my card base. So at this stage, you could probably go over it again with some more snail, but I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. I feel a little bit more secure with double-sided tape. Oh. Okay, so we'll bring that in to our card and we'll just pop it. I think it's in the middle. Yep, looks like it's pretty much smack bang in the middle. So get it side by side. I can line it up with my little strips and pop it there. And then, as I mentioned, it looks like the little frame is actually on dimensionals. I'm going to have to use little dimensionals because it's quite thin, as much as I don't really like them very much. Well, they're fiddly, too fiddly for my big hands. They are handy sometimes, so I'm just going to pop those around the edges. Then we've got some little doves to put in, some little doves of hope or peace, whatever your view of doves are. I'm pretty sure they're doves. Yeah, they would be. In this case, they'd probably more be doves of hope, I reckon. Just pop this other one on there. Maybe another couple on the top and the bottom. Definitely needed little ones for this because the big ones would have been far too big. Okay, and so we're going to bring that in and just rest that so it covers over the edges of our, what about adhesive strips for the framage? Yes, you could use those. I don't have any, don't actually possess any, but yes, that would probably be much easier than single dimensionals. Thank you, Glenda. It was Glenda, wasn't it? Yeah. Yes, thank you, Glenda. Okay, so there we are. So that's so far, that's how that one's looking. Yeah, I'm pretty close to the catalogue, I think. So the final thing we have to do is this. These are the little die cut doves there. I've already die cut them from this the cake crumb cardstock just because I wanted to be ready for stamping. I'm going to grab the little guy out here and hope that I can position him right when I'm stamping. So I'm going to do one. Now, have a look at the catalogue again. I'm going to do two in early espresso, so dark brown, and I'm going to put one in the crumb cake just to bring out the colour of the sentiment. So, oh no, cinnamon cider, which I've already have open. So let's see how we go positioning him over his die cut. I have asked people who buy my classes often have to do this, so I probably should at least take some of my own medicine. Okay, I find it easier to come in from the top because you can position it over the stamp and then just give it a little bit of a firm down. There we are. So that's our crumb cake guy, and that worked out pretty well. Happy with that. He looks very dark for cinnamon cider, doesn't he? That's all right. Where's my wet wipes? Here we go. And I'll do two more. Oh, what happened there? Oh, I did something horrible with my camera. Sorry, guys. Cancel that. Oh, I hope that's still working. Something, obviously, I have my mouse over that side and sometimes it gets buried in stuff, which is not good. So that's my cinnamon cider one. I'm actually looking at the catalogue. I don't know that they are that dark. One seems quite light. This little guy here seems quite light. I wonder whether he's maybe a different colour rather than the cinnamon cider. Maybe Bumblebee. Let's try one in Bumblebee because it's going to be slightly different with the on the cardstock, on the crumb cake cardstock. Let's try one, and then I can do another one in the cinnamon cider. And they can be our two dark ones. When we're casing the catalogue, it doesn't have to be. It's not going to be exactly the same because the colours do distort a wee bit. Is it cut from the paper? I'm not quite sure what you're saying, Ruth. I've cut you're talking about the little doves. I've actually die cut those. They're not in the paper. Okay, so there's that little lighter coloured one. I think that's probably the way to go. I'm going to do that one in the lighter, and then I'll just do another one in the cinnamon cider. You might just have to tell me what you're asking about there, Ruth. Is it cut from the paper? There's a bit of a delay in videos and things, so I may have in my head moved on to the next topic, and you're still seeing me from a few seconds ago. So that's probably why sometimes it feels a bit disjointed with the comments. Okay, so there's a little dark guy. To turn that paper over, it's sticking to everything. Okay, so with our little doves, let's have a look where they've popped them in the original card. We've got them top right, bottom left, and another little guy over here headed off into the distance. So we've got top right sort of flying off over there, and bottom left, he's sort of headed down that way. And this lighter little guy, he's headed off to the left. So that's why I was saying that the little frame was definitely on dimensionals, because the little tails are sort of tucked under and away. Okay, and it looks like they are just, let's check a little bit closer. They're just glued on by the looks of things. There's no dimension under there. So that's what we'll do. Just firming them down. Now, if you voted today or yesterday on the sweets that I used for this little video, I'm going to draw a random name from everyone who voted, and I'm going to send you these 3 cards as a thank you. That's for Australia only, Australian residents only. It doesn't matter if you're a demonstrator or what. If you voted for these in yesterday's poll, then yes, I'll draw a name and send you the cards. If I haven't got your address already, I will message you if you are the winner to get you the address from you. If you're not interested in going in the draw, please just pop a note a comment on yesterday's post, just to let me know that that you're not interested in receiving, and I'll go to the next person on the list. There we are. Okay. There we go. So that is the first cased card. I'll bring in the catalogue and put it next door, and you can see how close we got. As I say, it looks like their photography or their lighting has lightened up that card base a wee bit, but I think I'm pretty close to that. There you go. So that's card number 1. Cool. Okay, pop that aside, get rid of some of this stuff. And let's get on to card number 2. Just let me clear some room over to my right, because otherwise I will get steadily more and more disorganized as we go. So while I am tidying up, I will mention to everyone that we still have our start with savings promotion happening at the moment. So if you've got a wish list of a couple of $100 Australian dollars with Stamping Up, and you'd like to get the wish list for 130 instead, I would suggest joining up. It's not a huge if you're just interested in joining up just for the starter kit, it's not a huge commitment. You don't have to sell, you don't have to do videos, you don't have to hold classes. You can keep the membership going just buying for yourself or family and friends, just your closest circle. You don't have to do anything really, as long as if you meet the minimums, you keep going, and if you don't, you just drop back to a customer. There's nothing foreboding or threatening about that. So as I say, the start with savings goes to the end of November, and then then it goes back to its normal price. Anyway, there we go. So that was number one. Let's do number two. And number two in the catalogue is the sweet stockings. And as I say, probably a sweet that I haven't really gone into too much. I found that there were lots of more things that I liked more. But yes, so I'm going to do this one here, which I think is probably a little bit less fiddly than our Blackberry Beauty version. So we'll keep that open over there to my right, and we'll bring in the card kit that I created. Okay, so again, in this one, the designer series paper is the main event for this particular card anyway. And it's really, really handy because there is some cardstock or designer series paper here with just stockings in it. And thanks to Stamping Up coordinating their products, the dies from the die set fit the 3 sizes of stocking in the designer series paper. So you can actually just cut those out without fussy cutting them. Sorry, I'm a little bit high there. You can see there's big boots, middle-sized boots or stockings, and small stockings, and the dies fit them perfectly well. So even if you didn't do anything else, you can at least do some cards with really cute Christmas stockings in them, and that's exactly what I've done here. So I've used the paper to cut out the boots for the card. I'm just going to move that back over there with the dies. Okay, so as I said, we're going to do that 3 stocking card. Everything's moving around with my sticky paper. Okay, so here we have my version of the card here. Okay, so we have a old olive card base, 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, scored in the middle. I think we can keep this one at its original size. Then I have a piece of the designer series paper that I've cut down for the middle of the card, and from memory that is 3 inches wide by 4 inches long. So there we are, that one just fits there. The card's also got some strips of this other little designer series paper here, this one with the whirls and swirls on it. So I've got 3 of those, and they are 1 inch long, 1 inch wide by 3 1/2 inches long. So I've got 3 of those. They sit behind there. Then I've got my boots. So I wasn't really sure which boots I wanted, so I cut out a fair few. So I've got some big ones and some middle-sized ones. And I knew that I wanted to use that little one, so I didn't bother cutting any multiples. So I'm going to choose out of all those boots which ones we actually use. As I say, just run them through the die cutting machine and you have really cute little boots there. Now, the card had a strange setup with its sentiment, which I couldn't really work it out because it had a like serrated edge that is not in the die set. I'll bring that up so you can see. See there. So what I've worked out is it's obviously way too big. This is the little sort of rectangle from Stitched So Sweetly, which we all know is one of my favourites. And I'm just going to trim it down so that you see the top edge and the bottom edge. And that's my version of this particular sentiment box here. So that's what I'm going to do. And I've got a little strip of white for stamping, and that's 3 inches long from memory. Yeah, 3 inches by 1/2 inch, and I think the sentiment will fit in there pretty well. So I think I've got all my bits and bobs sorted. So let's get making. Okay, so the card has the 3 strips of the Whisper of the designer series paper across the middle there like that, and then this one is over the top so that you just see the ends of the paper. And it's slightly off center as well, so it's actually more to the right than the left. It's not exactly in the center. So I will pop these on. So I'll just grab some glue. The other side of this one's got these cute little mini stockinged animals, which is really cute. Sorry, that's just lost its focus. They're really cute. It's almost a shame to cover them over. So I'm going to start, I think the strips are, I'm going to start in the middle, and so I get them even. So I'll line up with my grid paper. I know that my card is almost 6 inches tall. So at about the at about the sort of 1, 2, 3, about there is the center. Sorry, just lining that up with my grid paper. So I'm straight and in the middle. Yeah, so I'll do that's the middle one, roughly. Might be a bit higher than it needs to be, but that's all right. Then I'll bring in the one at the top. Just like that. So these are, I'm trying to keep these in the center, and then the paper itself will be slightly off, the larger rectangle will be slightly off center. Yeah. Oh, he moved under my finger. Yeah. Okay, so then we'll bring this one in, and I think that just looks like it's glued down as well. But as I say, slightly to the right-hand side. So you see slightly less poking out on the right-hand side than you do on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm going to turn that paper over. That's sticking to everything, including my boots. Hopefully it's clean on the other side. Yes, it is. Okay, so we have our start there. Okay, so then we're going to just add our little boots, and I have to choose which ones I want now that I can see all my papers together. So as I say, I'm going to use this one, definitely. Pop him up there, and they're in sort of like a triangle sort of configuration. So then we've got this one, and we've got maybe this one, I think. So they're just on there, just like that. Okay, cool. So I might glue those. I think I'm happy with those three. Not too much red, not too much green. It's all a bit of a balance. So we'll pop those on. And the last one, and then we'll put the sentiment on and we're done. Of course, normally I'd put a little white panel on the inside, and I'll do that later before I send them to the winner of our competition. I'll pop a sentiment, maybe can pop a sentiment on the inside as well, just to finish them off properly. Okay, so there's our 3 little boots or stockings. Okay, so now let's do this sentiment. Looks like the sentiment is in Cherry Cobbler, so that's what I'll grab. The ink I'll grab if I can find it. There it is. And it is sending lots of love, which is really nice. There we are. I'm going to grab a big long block. Straight as I can on the block. These photopolymer ones are sometimes a little bit hard to get straight. Always have a practice stamp first, just to make sure I haven't got my ends curling up. I think I have actually this time. Might not be too bad. Yep, I've got a bit of a kink in the middle. Let's try that again. Try and just line it up with my the grid paper through my block and get it straight. Going to get red ink all over my hands in the meantime. Might just have to go with it. This one doesn't want to play fair. Sometimes just if you just drop it, it'll fall straight. But this one's been on the in the box a little bit kinky, I think. Well, it's not actually straight naturally. Let's try again. Yep, that's pretty good. That's what I'll go with. There you go. Just lining that up. Apologies that took so long. Have I lagged? Have I, or is that just me here? Well and truly lagged there. Some people are caught up with me or lagged. Can you just let me know on the thing? It might just be my phone that's way back when we were doing the first card, so I'm not quite sure what's happening there. If you can hear me and you're up to date, please let me know. It looks like the comments are up to date, so you must be seeing it. It might just be my phone that's on my internet, which probably isn't good. Yep, seems fine. Following perfectly. Lovely. Thanks, guys. I reckon it's just my phone. It's already told me that it's running out of batteries once. Oh yeah, that looks right. It's finally caught up. Apologies about that. Just freaked me out a bit because I looked up at my phone and it was still back at the Blackberry Beauty card, which we finished ages ago. Okay, so there is my sentiment, relatively straight. That is good. Okay, so let's pop that. We've got our little stitched so sweetly sentiment cert box there. So what I'm going to do is trim it. I'm going to line it up with this because it's got lovely stitches at top and bottom. So I'm going to line it up with the top and then trim some off, and then I'll line it up with the bottom and just basically take the bits of it that I actually want, which is pretty cool. So cut the top a bit off the top and the same sort of bit off the bottom. Can always use that piece, that little scrap, for something else. Grab our sentiment, pop some snail on the back. And just line that up with the stitching. A bit more snail. Line up the top. And I think I've got a pretty good copy of the catalogue sentiment box. It's quite cute, really. There we go. Now I'll just trim off the two ends because they definitely don't have the ends on this one. Strip straight across. And I suppose if they're done similar to me, that's why they've trimmed it, because you do see that you've got, two pieces of cardstock coming together that aren't quite matching. Okay. There we are. How's that? Pretty close, huh? So let's bring in our sentiment. So we've just basically, looks like they've got the sentiment coming in from the left-hand side across to there. Just it covers over that one boot a wee bit, but we'll do that. That's definitely a dimensions job. I'll just use my ends. had some exciting news, which any of you who follow my Facebook page probably would have seen my little post. Look, it's exciting news for me with my Stamping Up business. I was the 19th placed ranked demonstrator in Australia last year. So, well, last year ended at the 30th of October for Stamping Up year. For the Stamping Up year, was the 19th placed demonstrator. So I was really, really excited about that, and really thankful to all my customers and my team members and everyone who supported my little endeavours, watched my videos and comments. Yeah, so that was really great. So thank you everyone who has supported me last year. Hopefully that's not my peak. I'm hoping for better than 19th next year. So I thought that was pretty good. My husband thought, didn't realise, he thought it was just in a little group that I belonged to. He said, oh, 19th, how many are there? Like 20. And I said, no, dear, there's probably, I know that there's 4,200 demonstrators in the South Pacific. So I'm assuming that the lion's share would be in Australia. So hopefully, there's probably 3,500 demonstrators, something like that. So I was quite chuffed with that. Yeah, thanks to my team and my upline Donna, who's always encouraged me in the business. Okay, so we've got that done. So yeah, I'm pretty wrapped. So watch this space. We're going to go for bigger, better things next year, or this current year. So we've got some little, we've got to put some little embellishments on this one. And unfortunately, I've used all my red ones because I used that in my last class, all the red ones from these little matte decorative dots. All the reds have gone because my wonderful class members took them. So we'll just use another colour. Let's use which one will we use? Maybe the old olive green, I think would be nice. It'll bring up that green from that stocking there. So we can only case what we've got. So obviously I haven't got those, but let's use the green ones instead. And they are just down here. So they are just in a little triangle just below that sentiment box. And the one forms the triangle down there. It's a funny place for embellishments, but anyway, they look quite cute on the card, so let's do that. Cool. Okay, so there is card number 2 that I've cased the catalogue. So there we are. So there's their version and there's my version. Pretty close. Going good. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, so last but not least, we'll put this aside, get rid of some stuff so we don't make a mess, a horrid mess. Last but not least is the Whimsy and Wonder suite, which I think has been one of my favourites this year. Definitely did a whole class on it, which was lovely. So thank you for everyone who bought that one. Just moving my embellishments off to the side there. Get rid of that off the block. Move that out of the way. Where's the dies? The dies have gone already. Okay, move that over there. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the Whimsy and Wonder. Let's see a bit further on or a bit further back. I can't remember. It's back this way. Here we go. So this is the last one we're doing. We're doing this one here. So yes, sort of regretted that as soon as I picked it. But anyway, this is the one we're doing. So this one with the 4 Christmas trees and the really pretty little snowflake under the vellum. So let's give that one a go. Oh, keep it open, Julian. There we go, so we can copy. Okay, so here is it all cut. And again, it's the designer series paper that seems to win the show with this one, and the dies as well. There's very little stamping actually involved. So if you're not a big stamper, this one's the one to go for, although it is a little bit fiddly with the really skinny die cuts. So we've got a Blushing Bride card base. and a piece of this beautiful snowflake in the Blushing Bride. It's actually silver embossed. They're really, really sweet. And from what I can tell, that just goes straight on top of the card base. Just like that. So that's a 1/4 inch smaller. So you've got quite a large border of the Blushing Bride behind that little one there. Cool, like that. Then we've got some strips. We're into strips today. We've got strips of the colours and another couple of strips of the designer series paper as well. So we've got a strip of this one that's really cute. It's in the polished pink. It's got more of a stronger pink to it. We've got a strip of the, and I've probably done the wrong thing. I should have popped it on the card base second. Anyway, a strip of the Blushing Bride, a strip of mint macaron, a string of this particular card, which is the other side of the gifts, which I've used quite a lot, and a strip of Midnight Misty Moonlight. Yes, Misty Moonlight. And they're going to lay across that like that. Now, my thoughts was, silly Julianne, you should have popped them onto the designer series paper base before you committed to doing them, but I'm going to have to trim them all down. So they're going to have to be trimmed down to 3 7/8 so that they, oh, is it 3 or 7/8? Oh no, it's right to the edge of the card. So they're going to have to be trimmed to 4 1/8, which is the width of my card. That's fine. It's going to work okay. Probably just not as neatly as if I'd, I could trim them because it's not on the, it goes to the edge. Now, forgive me, rewind. You could actually do this on the card itself because they're right to the edge of the card, not to the edge of the cardstock of the DSP, the designer series paper. Sorry. Thinking out loud and getting myself confused. Here we go. So they're all trimmed to 4 1/8 anyway, so they're going to fit down the edge, right to the edge of the card. Okay, so let's pop them on. So looks like the card, they start a little bit closer to the top than the bottom. So they probably start right up here. Let's have a look. Yeah, even closer. So right up there they start. So I'm just going to layer them from there. Just some glue on the back and straight as I can, I'm going to line it up with my grid paper and line them up there. So then that one first, then the Blushing Bride. Then the mint macaron. Then the really pretty green with the dots. Yeah. And finally the Misty Moonlight. So as I say, they start, they leave more gap at the bottom than they have at the top, so they're slightly higher than halfway. Cool. It's nice. I like that. Okay, so now it gets a little bit fiddly. So after that, and on top of that little strip of cardstock, we have one of our beautiful pre-cut snowflakes, which I've used these a fair bit this year as well. They're lovely. So they just come pre-cut like that in a sheet. I think you get 24 in a pack, which is very handy. And it's just going to go straight onto the cards, onto the little panel of that you've made of the strips there. So all I'm going to do is just grab some glue on that central one because it's going to be underneath everything. I'm not going to bother putting glue all the way around it. Just going to pop some glue on the center there just to position it in place because it's going to have some more stuff on top. So I'll just pop that in the middle. ish, so that it's, oh no, that's not the middle, so it's there. Okay. Okay. So then the card has a piece of normal vellum, normal clear vellum, and this one is in inches. I think it's 3 by 5. Let's see. Yep, 3 by 4 3/4, and it just sits straight on top of the snowflake like that. Yep, that looks right to me. So it's going to sit just there, and then we're going to pop a row of little Christmas trees over the top of it. Okay, so the best way with vellum, it's sometimes a little bit tricky to know how to attach it. I generally do a thing where I grab a whole lot of glue and sponge it on the back. In this case, I might just use some glue dots, and just if you end up seeing the glue dots through, I'll just cover them with some embellishments. So here we go. So I'm just going to pop a glue dot on each corner. As I say, you sometimes will see whatever adhesive you use, you'll see it through, but in this case there are lots of embellishments to be used, so we'll just use those. And then I'll pop one in the middle as well, because we're going to have Christmas trees all over in the front. Okay, so we'll just pop this on. Halfway, top, bottom, same sort of distance, side by side. There we are. Okay, I'm liking it, liking it, liking it. Okay, so out of the next thing we've got some from the die set. We've got our little Christmas tree here, little tiny in white, and he's got a mint macaron string of tinsel, I suppose it'd be, and there's 2 of those, hopefully. Yes, there are. Okay, there and there. And then out of the designer series paper, there's one that's got a silver candy stripe. You can see that on there. I've got the other Christmas trees cut. So really 2 of the really tall skinny ones and one of the slightly shorter wider one. I'm going to use that as well. And I think that's it. Oh, and I've got some little stars, but I've left them on the die cutting machine so I wouldn't lose them. So we'll bring them in a moment. Okay, so let's pop these on. So let's see what we've done. Let's see what the card does. Okay, so here we are. So we have our 2 little Christmas trees there that we've got to put in this. It looks like they're in sort of a row from sort of a slope down like that. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, I'm just trying to get that in my head. Okay, so we might pop the little tinsel bits on first. So just with some touches of glue. Oh, something just dropped on the floor. I don't think it's anything we need. Let's do that. Just little bits of glue. Don't have to go too crazy. Doesn't have to be there when archaeologists dig it up in 1,000 years' time. Perfectly fine. And we'll pop that on there. And lining it up can be a little bit fiddly. That's it. There's one. And we'll do the other one. This would be nice in silver now I look at it. In silver foil rather than the green. That would be lovely. Might do the next one like that. little guy here. Apologies, I'm not talking when I'm trying to concentrate. Hopefully it's not too off-putting, the silence. Sometimes silence is better than me just prattling on about nothing while I try and concentrate. There you go. So we've got those there. Okay, so what's next? Let's pop these. So we've got a very tall, skinny one up here, and he's right up there like that and slightly off the vellum. So let's try and keep that positioning the same. So a little bit of glue on the back there, tiny bit on his long trunk. Doesn't have to be very much. And we'll line that up, slightly off the edge and up to there. Just like that. Cool, bit too much glue. What a surprise. That's my thingy gone. There we are. So that's number one. And then actually I might pop the other end on as well, just so then I can line everything up in between. So this little guy is our other tall, skinny one. Just a little bit of glue on his bottom. And he goes, where do you go? Off the edge again. Too much glue. And up to there. Yep, that's about right. There. There we are. So that's sort of like our line of sight across the middle there. You can sort of see now where everything else has to go. So this is the shorter, chunkier tree, and he's going to be sort of like in the middle, so that the foliage of that tree and the foliage of that tree and the foliage of this tree all sort of line up in a row. I think that's the easiest way to do this. It's a bit tricky when you haven't designed a card yourself. You're trying to sort of reverse manufacture it almost in a way. Okay, so that's number 3. And then we'll bring in our 2 little short, fat Christmas trees on this side. And they line up pretty easy now that we know where we're going. Phew, that was easier than I thought. Good to be logical sometimes. There we go. They may have put these on dimensionals in the catalogue, I'm not quite sure, but we'll just go with glue. Okay, so there we are. There's our little trees all in a row there. Okay. Okay, so what have we got to do? Oh, now we'll bring in these are the little stars from the die set. I cut them on my magnetic plate and I left them there because I knew I could cause a disaster if I brought them onto the desk. They're so little. And they are on top of those 3 little designer series paper trees just on top. Don't mind showing you my magnetic plate because we don't sell one with Stampin' Up, so obviously it's not a Stampin' Up plate, it's another brand, and I love it, I have to say. The best thing. Another little star there, and a 3rd one down here. Okay. Just get all that glue to stick. It's a bit tricky with the vellum, it doesn't want to stick too well. Maybe that's why they've used dimensionals. Might have been a better idea. We'll do that later. Okay, so that's our 3 little Christmas trees. Get rid of those. Don't need the extras. So we've got our 3 little Christmas trees with our stars on top. So the last thing we have to do is grab our little strip of white for our sentiment. A little bit of strip of white for our sentiment, and all they've done is taken the joy from the stamp set. So it's there's not much to it at all as far as stamping is concerned. And I would say that's in a pink. I would say that that's in Magenta Madness, which is a little bit darker than polished pink. And it's just the tiniest little piece of cardstock that they've got, just with the joy on it. No, not like that though. A bit higher than that. Yeah, that's better. And it's just trimmed so it's slightly longer at this end. Okay, so that's going to sit just there. So it just covers the bottom of the trunk of that little guy on the right hand side, just like that. And then they've got some of the ribbon, and I didn't cut any, so I should have cut some. Oh, there goes my cord for my microphone. So this is the ribbon that comes with the set, and all we've got to do, or what they've done, is taken some, folded over like this and trimmed. So probably, maybe not quite that much. It only goes to that second tree there. I'll trim it off. It comes across like that from the edge to just past that tree, so about there. Okay, it sits on there like that, and it's tied with some, now I've got to find it, I should have found it before, some looks like linen twine. Looks like some linen twine I think it's tied with, so let's try that. As I say, trying to copy someone else's design I found harder than designing these myself, to be honest. So let's just uneven those a little bit, and it looks like they're just tied in a bow. So I will just start the bow going, feed that through, and just like that, and the bow. I'm actually standing at the moment, so let's see how I go. If I'm any more successful tying bows standing than I am sitting, it might become my new bow tying technique. There we are. Maybe not quite that long. Okay, so that looks like all they've done there. Just trim the edges. I've left the ends quite long. I won't do that. I'll just trim them off. Okay, so that sits, so our little sentiment sits there like that, and then the bow sits below it, from what I can see, just like that. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll put our, at least we can know we're going to put our sentiment onto some dimensionals, so we'll do that now. And then this one is done as well. Oh, there's some bling to put on. Pop this on that. Now, how I actually attach that bow, I'm not really sure. Let's have a little bit of a think. So I'll pop that on there. I reckon probably just some ink dots, I'd say. I've actually got that around the wrong way. They've actually got the shorter end at the front, and they've got it sort of slightly. This is a very, very, very frayy ribbon. It frays quite quickly, but it's cute when it frays, so that's not a problem. But it is quite frayy. So I'm just going to pop that. I might pop those on some dimensionals as well. So it does look like it's the same level as the Never put ribbon on dimensionals before. Looks like it's the same length, same height as the sentiment. That looks like it's going to go okay. Just working it out as we go along. And pop that. There. There we are. So that's my take on the card from the catalogue as well. So they've got some bling on there. I'm not sure that I've got the bling that they've used, but I can think of something that's pretty close. And thank you for staying with me the whole time through this video. It's probably a bit longer and a bit more arduous than some of the ones I've done. It's just trying to sort of work it out as I go along. These are their elegant faceted gems from the, oh, what were they from? The, oh gosh, ages ago anyway. And I reckon they would be fine on this. I'm not sure what they've actually used in the catalogue. Maybe those. Let's try those. There's a pink version of it, which I reckon could have what they've used. So I'm just going to use, put them around all over the place, covering over those what's the word? Ink dots that I've used that you can see, because you can see a couple of them around the place. So just pop these around. I'm going to do 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And pop one down here as well. 5. Actually, I might do another one. Pop that one there. Another one there. Okay, so that's done. So there we are. There's our card. I'll bring the other one back in from the catalogue, and we've done. So there we are. There's our two versions. I think I'm pretty close there. Pretty close. Yeah, not too bad at all. Okay, so as I say, thank you so much for sticking with me today. It's a little bit less organised, I suppose, because it's trying to copy someone else's designs, which is pretty tricky sometimes. I'll just bring the cards back in so you can see what we've done. As I said, if you voted yesterday in the when I was trying to work out what cards to do, I'll draw someone from that post, and I will send you all 3 cards. Just trying to find where's the animal cards disappeared in this mess. I can't find it. Anyway, it's here somewhere. It's definitely here somewhere, but it's disappeared. Okay, so I will send 3 cards. I'll finish them off in the middle. Put sentiments, and oh, here it is. Put white cardstock and sentiments on the inside, and I will send those to you. So thanks for sticking with me. Numbers were a little bit down towards the end, but I probably don't blame you. It was a pretty marathon effort. Anyway, so anyone who's watching on replay as well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about these products, as I mentioned, they are current products from our mini catalogue, which goes through to the 2nd of December. No, wait a minute, 2nd of January. 2nd of January. Pretty sure it's early January anyway. And as I say, we do have selected items going on sale on the 30th of November, so watch out for that as well. But if you see it now and you love it and you want it, my suggestion would be to grab it while it's still there. Anyway, so thanks for staying with me, guys. Have a great Sunday or the rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next time.